If you're new here, hit subscribe, because what you're about to hear will make you question justice itself. The gates of Michigan State Prison groaned open after 30 long years. A man stepped out, tall, calm, with gray creeping through his hair. His name was Marcus Hill. Reporters swarmed like vultures. Cameras flashed. Microphones pushed into his face. "Marcus, how does it feel to finally be free?" He didn't answer. He just stared ahead, expression cold, eyes hollow, like someone who'd seen hell and come back. They expected tears of joy. But Marcus didn't smile. He whispered under his breath, just loud enough for one nearby journalist to hear. "They took my life. Now I'll take back what's mine." The crowd erupted as he stepped into the sunlight for the first time in 3 decades. But freedom didn't look peaceful on him, it looked dangerous. That night, in a small motel outside Detroit, Marcus sat alone on a squeaky bed. In his hands, an old, creased photograph. 2 faces. One was his. The other, the man who ruined his life. Detective Harold Vance. Marcus turned the photo over. Written on the back were 4 words. "You know what you did." He placed it carefully beside a newspaper clipping. His own mugshot from 1993. Convicted of murder. But now, the truth was out. DNA evidence had cleared him, proving what he had screamed all those years. He was innocent. Still, he couldn't sleep. The ticking clock echoed the years he'd lost. 30 birthdays. 30 Christmases. 30 years of being forgotten. When morning came, he looked in the mirror. His reflection seemed like a stranger. He straightened his collar, took a deep breath, and muttered, "Let's begin." Marcus picked up an old flip phone from the drawer. He dialed a number he hadn't called in 3 decades. A woman answered, her voice trembling. "Marcus? It's me," he said softly. "We need to talk about Vance." She gasped. "You don't know what you're getting into. He's not the same man anymore." Marcus's tone was calm. "Neither am I." He hung up. Then he stepped outside, the cool air brushing against his face. For the first time since he walked free, he smiled, a quiet, dangerous smile. Because freedom, to Marcus, wasn't forgiveness. It was the beginning of something much darker. And as the camera lights faded from his release day footage, Marcus Hill vanished from the headlines. But not from the story. Because the man who spent 30 years behind bars was about to show the world that justice delayed can still be justice delivered. The year was 1993, Detroit's West Side, a time when corruption was whispered about but rarely proven. The night Marcus Hill's life ended, not by death, but by conviction, started like any other. Marcus was a 25-year-old auto mechanic, known in his neighborhood as reliable, quiet, and fiercely protective of his younger brother, Jamal. But that night, Jamal didn't come home. By dawn, police tape surrounded an alley 2 blocks from Marcus's shop. Jamal's body was found, shot twice in the chest. The bullet casings were clean. No fingerprints. No witnesses. Only one piece of evidence, a handgun registered to Marcus. When police knocked on his door, Marcus was still wearing his grease-stained uniform. "Mr. Hill," said Detective Harold Vance, his voice cold. "You're under arrest for the murder of your brother." Marcus froze, eyes wide. "You've got it wrong. I didn't." Vance slammed him against the wall before he could finish. "Save it for the judge," Vance snapped. The trial moved fast, too fast. Prosecutors painted Marcus as a jealous brother. They said he killed Jamal over money, over pride, over a family dispute gone too far. Marcus's court-appointed lawyer barely spoke. The jury didn't take long. Guilty. Life sentence. When the verdict was read, Marcus shouted, "I didn't kill him!" But Vance just watched from the back of the courtroom, a faint smirk on his face. And as Marcus was led away in chains, he swore to himself that one day, he'd prove the truth, even if it took a lifetime. Decades passed. The world changed. Inside prison walls, Marcus became a ghost, a man who refused to break, who studied every piece of his case file, who memorized every lie Detective Vance told. Then one afternoon in 2022, a law student from Ann Arbor found a missing piece of evidence. A cigarette butt collected at the crime scene, never tested for DNA. When tested, the results stunned everyone. The DNA wasn't Marcus's. It belonged to a man named Reggie Nolan, a known informant, and Harold Vance's old partner. The system scrambled. Within months, Marcus Hill's conviction was vacated. The governor himself signed his release papers. But by then, Marcus wasn't just free. He was burning. He began tracing every name tied to his case: the detectives, the prosecutor, the witnesses. Many were retired. Some had vanished. But one still lived in the same quiet suburb outside Detroit. Harold Vance. Marcus drove past Vance's house one night. From his car, he watched the old detective through the window, laughing with his grandchildren. The man who stole his life now had everything Marcus didn't: a family, a home, freedom. That night, Marcus whispered to himself, "You took my brother, my years, my name. But I'm taking something back." He started visiting the places tied to his past: the alley where Jamal died, the courtroom where he was sentenced, even the prison yard that had become his world. Each visit felt like a step toward closure, or vengeance. Marcus didn't sleep that night. The streets outside his motel window were quiet, but his mind was louder than ever. 30 years in a cell had sharpened his patience, turned his pain into calculation. He had a list, and Harold Vance's name was written at the top. Marcus began by visiting the Detroit Police Archives. Posing as a freelance writer investigating wrongful convictions, he requested the files from his brother's case. The clerk, a woman with kind eyes and tired hands, hesitated. "Those records were supposed to be sealed," she said. "Supposed to," Marcus replied with a calm smile. A few minutes later, he was sitting at a table under the flicker of a dusty fluorescent light. Inside the old brown folder, between faded photos and typewritten reports, he found something strange: a missing witness statement. A man named Darrell K. Simmons had claimed to see someone running from the alley the night Jamal was killed. The description didn't match Marcus. It matched Detective Vance's partner, Reggie Nolan. But that statement was never presented in court. Instead, it had been buried, replaced by a fake summary that said, "Witness uncooperative." Marcus felt his hands tremble. The rage was old, but it came back sharp, fresh. He copied every page, every note, every lie, and left before anyone could ask questions. That night, he drove to Vance's neighborhood again. The man lived in comfort: two-story home, green lawn, porch light glowing warm. It was everything Marcus once dreamed of before the system swallowed him whole. He sat there watching. For hours. Finally, he stepped out of the car. His heart pounded as he walked toward the mailbox, slipped an envelope inside. Inside it was a single photo, a copy of that missing witness statement, and a note that read, "I know what you did." The next morning, Vance found it. At first, he thought it was a prank. But as he read the paper, color drained from his face. He looked out his window, half expecting to see Marcus standing there. Later that day, Vance visited his old precinct, asking questions. He wanted to know if Marcus Hill had contacted anyone, if anyone was digging around. He even offered to donate to the department's retirement fund. But Marcus had already moved 2 steps ahead. He tracked down Darrell Simmons, the missing witness, now living in Ohio under a new name. When Marcus found him, the man looked terrified. "Please," Darrell said. "I didn't say nothing. They told me to shut up or I'd end up like your brother." Marcus leaned closer. "Who told you?" Darrell's eyes darted toward the window, as if afraid the past was still watching. "Vance and his partner. Jamal wasn't supposed to die. He found out about a drug deal they were running, cops selling evidence off the street. Your brother tried to expose them." Marcus felt the ground vanish beneath him. His brother, murdered for doing the right thing. "Why didn't you come forward?" Marcus asked, voice trembling. Darrell's eyes darted toward the window, as if afraid the past was still watching. Vance and his partner, Jamal, wasn't supposed to die. He found out about a drug deal they were running, cops selling evidence off the street. Your brother tried to expose them. Marcus felt the ground vanish beneath him. His brother, murdered for doing the right thing. Why didn't you come forward? Marcus asked, voice trembling. Daryl shook his head. You don't get it. Vance had friends. Judges. Cops. You couldn't win against that. That night, Marcus drove until sunrise. The anger was no longer about revenge. It was about truth. He wanted the world to see what had been hidden, to expose every name that signed off on his suffering. But something else was happening. People connected to the case, old officers, retired lawyers, started receiving anonymous letters. Inside each was a single sentence. He's out. Fear spread quietly through the city's old guard. Vance began sleeping with a gun beside his bed. And as Halloween approached, the same night his brother had died 3 decades earlier, Marcus decided it was time to finish what he started. He didn't want blood. He wanted confession. He wanted the truth to scream louder than the silence that buried it. The night air was sharp, slicing through the city like a whisper of ghosts. Halloween, 30 years to the day since Jamal Hill's body was found in that back alley. Marcus sat in his car across the street from Harold Vance's house, engine off, lights dimmed. The same orange glow of carved pumpkins flickered on every porch, but his focus was on that one house. The house of the man who stole his life. He wasn't dressed in black like some movie vigilante. Just a gray hoodie, jeans, and a small digital recorder in his pocket. No gun. No knife. Just the truth, and the will to make it heard. At exactly 10:07 p.m., Vance stepped outside, cigarette in hand. His hair was grayer now, his eyes colder, but the arrogance still sat heavy on his shoulders. He looked like a man who'd learned to bury guilt beneath whiskey and medals. Marcus walked up the driveway, silent but deliberate. When Vance turned, the cigarette slipped from his lips. You, he muttered, disbelief and fear tangled in his voice. It's been a long time, detective, Marcus said. 30 years too long. Vance swallowed hard. You shouldn't be here. You got your freedom. Leave the past where it belongs. Marcus took a slow step forward. You mean buried next to my brother? Vance's eyes darted toward the house, then back at Marcus. You don't know what you're talking about. Marcus pulled a folded paper from his pocket, the original witness statement. Daryl Simmons remembered. You and Nolan killed him, didn't you? Jamal found out about the drug evidence you were selling. Vance's jaw tightened. You don't have proof. Marcus hit record on the device in his pocket. Then say it. Say you didn't do it. Vance hesitated, a long silence that spoke louder than words. Finally, his voice broke. It was supposed to scare him. Just scare him. Nolan lost control. Your brother fought back. It wasn't supposed to. End his life? Marcus cut in. Wasn't supposed to ruin mine? Vance's shoulders slumped. We cleaned it up. Told the DA you were the last one seen with him. It was easy. You were already a suspect in a burglary. The rest just fit. Marcus felt his chest tighten, not from anger, but from the hollow ache of truth. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. And now you live free while I missed my whole life. My mother died thinking I was a killer. Vance's eyes glistened in the dim porch light. You think this hasn't haunted me? He whispered. Marcus leaned in, voice low and steady. Good. Then let the world feel it too. He turned and walked away, leaving Vance frozen. Moments later, he slid the recorder into an envelope and dropped it at the door of a local reporter, the same journalist who once covered his conviction. By morning, the confession was everywhere. National headlines. Police investigations reopened. The city that once condemned Marcus now wanted to shake his hand. Vance was arrested within 48 hours. The department issued public apologies. Reporters called it the greatest wrongful conviction scandal in Michigan history. But Marcus didn't smile. He stood outside his brother's grave, the autumn leaves whispering around him. "I told you I'd find the truth, Jamal," he said quietly. "Now they'll remember your name for what it really meant." He placed a single white lily on the grave, symbol of justice, not peace, and walked away under the soft glow of Halloween lanterns. The past was finally silent. But justice was loud enough for the whole world to hear.